Hello and welcome to Skylines Talk. We normally start with a blooper, but today I wanted to add a little context to the interview first. Today's interview is with Ecania, one of the game's most prolific, high-quality fantasy map creators. Ecania and I recorded this interview a few weeks ago, but since then he's had a DMCA strike, basically a copyright claim, against one of his recent themes. So I invited him back to find out what happened, he accepted, and this additional dialogue is added to the end of today's show. Also, I'd like to apologise for the sound quality from Ecania's mic for the main part of the interview. This was borrowed equipment, and by the time we realised it wasn't quite up to the job, it was too late. I've spent many hours editing the sound feed, so you should be able to follow his words without too much difficulty. As for the additional DMCA interview, he obtained a better mic, and that is much, much better. Anyway, that's enough from me. Sit back and enjoy the show. Hello and welcome to Skylines Talk, the new chat show for City Skylines, where we'll go behind the Sims and meet some of the brightest, most creative minds in the City Skylines community. Find out what makes them tick and maybe even learn a tip or two. Who am I? I'm BonBonB, and you are very, very welcome.
Come here now, girl.
Welcome and thank you for taking the time to come on the show.
Oh, thank you very much, and for having me in the show.
So do I call you Ecania, or is there something else you prefer?
Ecania will be fine. Sometimes I call myself EA, and but that can be a bit dangerous, you know. Electronic Arts, and that's not very popular.
Yes, I think they do some sort of rival city builder game, I believe.
Yeah.
So where does your creator name come from?
Oh, that's a long story, but we can take it. Actually, it was a long time ago. When internet was young and Hotmail was young, but Hotmail got very full on names very fast, and I wanted a name Hotmail. Not a name with a lot of numbers after. I want just a name, but Hotmail punk. Thinking. The time my grandpa was working in a company that was called Ecania here in Sweden. They make tracks and buses and stuff. Actually, I took the S from Scania and put down an E. So Ecania was born from that name. I still have Ecania at hotmail.com.
And a lot of spam, no doubt, as well now.
Yeah, maybe a lot more after this show, you know.
So can you tell me a little bit about your personal background, like where you're from and what you do when you're away from the game?
I'm from a little village south from Stockholm, about 3 miles from Stockholm. And I work in Stockholm. I spend my days in the employment office. Unfortunately, I'm so young still, so I have to work on daytime. And I work with service and sort of tech problems, you know, especially computer problems. So that's what I do.
So, other than City Skylines, what other games or genres do you enjoy and why?
Actually, I like RPGs, like Skyrim, Divinity, Original Sin, Kingdom Come, such games. I think those games have a cool story, and I like long gameplay. As you like a good book you're reading, you don't want it to end.
Yeah.
I want long games that I like. I also like to mod games, something I enjoy. I haven't modded City Skylines, but other games have been modded. Modded a game like called King's Bounty a couple of years ago. To make one mod. So I almost built a whole new game from that game. So that's why it took me so long time. Almost 3 years. Yeah, making new troops, new lands, and that game also had an underground level, so I built out that level too.
So how did you get into City Skylines?
I'm an old lover of the SimCity and the SimCity 4 series and all that, so when I found out about CEO was working on a similar game, it was like the portals to the paradise.
So before we start talking about your stunning maps, how about your city building skills? Do they match up, and are your cities as clear and sharp, or just are they a jumble of congested roads?
Yeah, in the beginning it was just chaos of roads and traffic and stuff. But I learned too. But actually, I don't have so much time to build cities. Most I do in City Skylines is actually maps. I build a city after 10, 20k. I just can't be out making a map, so then I just finish the game and start the map again. I'm a constructor.
There's as much fun to be had from map making, definitely. So what led you into making your very first map on City Skylines?
The editor. Every game that has an editor, I get curious. So I checked the editor out and I constructed a very simple map that I call the Golden Falls, I think. And the map was very, very warm welcome on the workshop. People loved it, so I made one more map, and France wasn't so good this time. But the second map I made, I got a few comments from game developers. So but I think I failed in the start there. So those maps I made themselves, they are deleted from the workshop. Another thing that got me started in my talent to build landscapes, because I started very early to make landscapes in my childhood. I think I was 10 years when I did first lead pencils. I just put lead on my fingertips and painted with my fingers. I was actually pretty good at it. I always been creative, like in some ways. I did a lot of maps to another game about I think it was 1999 or something like that. It was called Age of Wonders.
Age of Wonders.
Yeah, you know that game?
I'm aware of it. Yeah, I've never played it, but I have seen it.
Yeah, I think it came in Age of Wonders 1 and 3, and then like 10, 15 years later they put out another one, but that version I didn't like. It was the 3 first versions I did. I got a lot of mails this year, around 3, 4, 5,000 mails from people that maps I did for that game.
Wow.
Yeah, that was cool. And I also had a girl in Singapore that was a writer. So she wrote the stories I did that game. That was pretty nice.
Was there anything specific you needed to add to these maps?
RPG elements in, a fantasy game. So it needed some stories to the maps. Gave her some material and she wrote a cool story for it.
So anyway, from then, your maps have evolved an awful lot to what we see today. What traits, if any, have you carried over from the first maps, and what's new and what's developed?
I think you can guess that. I will say the water. Always the water, yes. I just love to create beautiful waterfalls and how to mix the flora in my landscapes. That's a cool thing.
So when you're thinking about starting a new map, how do you start? Is it something that you plan out on paper, or is it a mental concept, or is there another process that you use?
Most of the time I get inspiration from other fantasy maps. Owl is one favorite of mine. He also gave me the inspiration to make my own work. Also other map makers give me ideas I need to try. Also good friends like PDM, Mr. Miyagi, so on. All of them give me inspiration, and some I collect just by looking how the environment looks like. For example, when I ride with a train every day back and forth to my job, I collect inspiration. Just look at the pebble stones in my last team.
Yeah.
Those pebble stones is use them to put railway on them, and I actually got the color from the railway here in Sweden from a train trip. So put the texture in Photoshop and then I just recolor them to the color I want them to be.
Alright.
Then I just try them in the theme editor, and they look good there, and then I need need to switch over to the game mode and they doesn't look so good. Not the same coloring game and in the editor, so you have to switch a lot until you're satisfied with the colors. So it can take a bit of time to make a perfect.
So, of all the maps you've made, which was the most interesting to you?
Wow, that's not an easy question. But actually I think Spring Pine is the most interesting I have made, because it's very huge and the town, that map is very interesting. Yeah, my last maps is the most interesting maps, but if I want to give you one of the old ones, I would say the Moraine Falls.
Yeah, that was a bit special, that one.
You want to know why the last one is so special?
Please do.
That's because I use a different method to make those last maps. I just with a flat green area, just like it looks when you start up the map editor. That flat area I make a height map. Then I export the height map to Photoshop. And then I will build the mountains to the height map in Photoshop. Or I will use terrain party. I will take some mountains from interesting parts in the world. And then I will merge those maps. Mountains from different height maps from terrain party. And then I will move them up with Photoshop. And put them where I want them.
You do know that's called cheating, don't you?
No, it's not cheating. It's
Oh, I'm teasing you.
yeah, because all places in the world are not as you want them to be in editor, so you have to change them.
It's art at its extreme, taking a mountain and plopping it down. I love it. I love the idea.
I can port it back to the editor again, and I build some roads and some bridges and water. And then I can export it again back to Photoshop and the mountain. And then export it back again. And everything follows. So that's a cool way to build a map, actually.
Oh, it sounds it. It's a good little insight. Does this explain why you're able to put out so many maps so quickly? Because a couple of people have asked me to ask you this. How are you able to have a production line of maps? I know it's not quite one a week, but sometimes it really feels like it.
That's the thing that I will get credit to Mr. Miyagi. That he learned, don't just work with one map. Work with 3-4 maps. So I can have several maps work table. It's ready and I pop it out and then I put my teeth into another one that I have been on the table for a bit of time. That's why I'm very fast also to announce on the Facebook group that next thing Ecania does. That's why I always have several maps. But that map is not here right now, because not only me that working on the map which is on the table right now. Who is working on it, that's the guy you have reviewed a few maps from.
What, PMD?
Yes, he's PMD.
I think between him and you, your mix of styles should come together really well, because he's an incredible realist in his style, and yours is so fantasy. And I think if you can combine the two, it'll either be the best map ever or the biggest disaster ever. And I really want to see which one of those two it's going to be.
PMD and I have had a discussion about our styles, and we agreed on that we are not going to mix our styles. So it's a style map, and I'm not going to reveal what he's doing on the map right now. So you're going to wait for that.
Make me wait. Yeah.
He's doing a lot of work on it, that I can say. He has had the map for 3-4 weeks already.
Well, I'm really excited because, like I say, you're both at the top of your individual games, so it'd be very interesting to see what you come up with together. So we're talking about themes a few minutes ago, with the pebbles and such. What about theme creation do you find most satisfying, and what aspects are the most difficult?
Difficult and most interesting aspects is actually the texture. I wish there were room for more textures in the game. You can do so much with different textures. Also, I wish there was more textures to add normal maps for. That's a map, you can say. If you do pebble stones and do a normal map to it, you will see that the stones are more like bumpy and in 3D. Look different angles, they will not flat out so easily. And it's only 2 textures in the add a normal map too, and one of them is the cliff texture and another one is the sand texture. So cool to go on texture hunting on the net and then find anything, and then told you before, edit them in the Photoshop and or another software, editing software. They are very interesting to any result from them. I think it's a very cool thing too.
Well, going across from the from the theme editor to the map editor again, you've already said you've got this build with PMD at the moment, but do you have any unstarted ideas for future builds? Anything specific you really want to do?
Actually, I have a small idea for another team, but I haven't tried it out.
Any hints?
The hints can be that it will still be a lot of the last team I released to the Springtime, actually, because I like that team. Very good team, and I was thinking about doing some of it a bit different and try it out, the cliff texture on it also. The next map, BonBonB, is Dulas Mort. And I really want to say also that the name Dulas Mort from Antonio Bernal, he came up with a name. I took it right away. I think it was a wonderful name for that map. So hopefully the map will be out in about 5-6 weeks or so.
Fantastic. Definitely looking forward to that. Well, it's more to look forward to in 2018. Brilliant. So, okay, away from the game, what's next for you in real life?
Oh, that's a hard question, you know. Many years left to work on, so I'm actually pretty old. I'm 60 years old.
That's not that old.
No, not that old, but it's old, I think.
It's vintage.
So actually, I really don't know for sure, but just keep going on with the interest I have at the moment. But I doesn't have any big plans. If I don't happen to win a huge sum of money, but there's a minimal chance that I do that because I rarely do betting these days. I did that before, but more of a bit of a lace with that stuff you older you get.
So, finally then, are there any members of the City Skylines community that you'd really like to see appear on the show?
Absolutely. There is. I haven't seen this guy's name came up ever, actually. I think this guy is a very important model and very important for us. And can you guess who I mean?
TPB?
Behind the movie.
Oh, yes.
This guy has made a very important post, and nobody has even mentioned.
No, that and Find It as well, which everybody uses. Yeah, I'll put out my my feelers and see if they're available, because that's a very good call.
Another name I have is a map maker, and this guy is Oval. I know he's hard to get by, but I think this guy has made so great maps and inspiration. Would love to hear an interview with this guy.
And who's this guy then?
Oval.
Oh, Owl! Owl! Oh, yes.
Owl, yeah.
Yes, no, cool.
The Lamborghini of the map makers.
We did have a little chat, and unfortunately, like I say, he was going back to his home country at the time. but if they become available again, then definitely is top of my list of people to talk to. Well, thanks for joining me today. It's been really interesting actually getting behind the mind of Ecania. I hope you have a really nice evening and a really successful year of thousands of more maps for me to pick apart.
And thank you for the talk, BonBonB. I love those you make.
Yeah, well, it's been an absolute pleasure. An absolute pleasure. So, Ecania, good to have you back for this edition. Could you tell us a little bit about what has happened with the DMCA strike against you, how it came about, and what you can do about it?
Yes, that was a surprise, actually. I wasn't prepared for that, but one day when I came home from work, I had a DMCA notice. And when I read the mail, I saw what was happened. And first of all, I want to say I'm very, very sorry to the creator of the texture that this was about. And in one of my earlier projects, I wanted to use some of those textures from this creator. I don't want to say the name of the creator, actually.
No, that's fair enough.
Yeah. And it took me a while to get in touch with this person. When I did get in touch with this person, I was not permitted to use the material, and I accepted that. I reworked my ongoing stuff. That was about 6 months ago. But I did one mistake, and that was I was keeping those textures on my disk because I wanted to try and figure out how those textures was made.
Yeah.
And I also like to experiment a lot with textures. Sometimes just in learning purposes.
Yeah, of course.
Also to get some fun results. I can admit that sometimes I had a little texture change. Chaos on my disk, a lot of folders with renamed textures in them, and especially under the CS folder structure. I was experimenting with water and different foams, and I just played around with some textures and tried out. And when I uploaded it to the workshop, I just forgot to check the water textures, and I forgot to set the colors for the dirt water also. So actually I just forget the texture from the team before I uploaded it to Steam. So just a few days after I was uploading it, I was forced to update it, and I still didn't notice that the foam had the wrong texture. So when I saw on Steam that the DMCA notice, I didn't understand what was going on first, but I did understand what was going on. So what I did, I exchanged the texture very fast. Then I wrote a message to DMCA that I have changed the texture, and they were very happy with that. So they said that were very happy that I fixed this very fast. So I want to apologize to the creator.
I mean, it sounds like a very easy mistake to make. I think a lot of us have, taken pictures off of the internet for editing and, using something to create for ourselves. And of course, if we're keeping it on our own computers, I don't think any creator really minds that much. But obviously I can understand the creator having a problem. That's the strange thing, of course, is to get a copyright strike, it possibly would have been, I don't want to criticise, once again, for the creator to protect their own rights, well within their right to go to the DMCA. But a little direct contact to say, could you possibly remove that, would have been better than to slap you on the head with that, because at the end of the day, it's not like you're creating anything for a profit. You're not making anything from doing this apart from just sharing the pleasure of creation with other players of the game.
Yes.
And I think, and like I say, absolutely, they're well within their rights, and I'm not going to say they shouldn't have. It just would have been possibly nice to save, bringing on in the DMCA, because they've got bigger things to worry about, no doubt.
Yeah, but when I talked to this creative about 6 months ago, the person told me that they had a lot of problems with people stealing their work. So I understand the person actually, because I did a mistake. I should have actually experimented with a team that I was not supposed to upload to Steam. But I was experimenting with the team I was uploading, and that was a mistake. And I have also deleted the textures from my disk now, so I cannot make the same mistake again. That would be fatal, actually. This mistake, because I didn't need texture. I was just experimenting with it. I had a texture I was gonna use, but I was experimenting, and I wanted to see if I could get more foam on the water, but I couldn't see any difference actually. So.
But anyway, like I say, it's really good of you to come forward and to, like I say, take full responsibility on the chin, because like I say, it was your mistake. I don't think it's the most serious mistake anybody's made in their life, and I must say, and all respect to the original creator, because I mean a lot of hours goes into making textures, a lot of hours goes into making maps, and a lot of hours goes into making YouTube videos, and of course we do want to protect our own properties, and it's very good of you to step up and explain what went wrong, and hopefully there aren't going to be too many people. There's always going to be one person who will never forgive you, but hopefully most people will say, look, easy mistake, and it's been corrected, and we can all move on with our lives.
Yeah. Actually, this is the most professional textures I have ever seen. So I was keeping them to try and figure out how they was made.
So I'll say this is how we've always worked. Whenever an artist comes along, you always deconstruct that person's work, so that you've got to learn from the best. And if this person's the best, then all credit to them for it.
Yeah, actually, yes.
Right. Well, unless there's anything else you want to add, I think it's probably a good place to cut it and let our viewers and listeners get back to their everyday lives.
Yeah, no, I don't think I don't need to add anything about this. I think that's the whole story about it. So.
Well, thank you very much for coming back on and explaining that a little bit extra. And have a great day.
Thank you, BonBonB, and the same to you.